Well guys, already just 3 days into the new year, we have info on possibly the next mainline Zelda game, which is kind of crazy to even think about because Tears of the Kingdom just came out in 2023. I don't want to make it seem like it just came out. I mean, that was almost 3 years ago now, soon in May. But we might already know some information about the game, and this is actually some serious information about how the game might play out, what it might look like, and what it might even play like. Now, of course, take everything with a grain of salt. This comes from Special Nick, where Special Nick has pretty much a 100% track record. He had info on Prime 4 being more open, but not open world, which he got right with the desert. He correctly knew about the Switch 2 launch month and also the pricing and the Mario Kart World Bundle, and he even knew that Nintendo was remastering Mario Galaxy 2. He's been pretty spot on about his information. And the information that he has that I will share with you guys today is pretty interesting. So make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Zelda and Nintendo in general. You guys almost got us 380,000 subscribers to reach our ultimate goal of 400k. Almost 200 of you subscribed yesterday. Thank you so much. Let's see how many we can get on today's video as we continue to start the new year all strong. Thank you guys so much for your support, and let's dive into this rumor. So first off, Special Nick states that we will be staying around the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom style of format. Now, I'm not sure if he's hinting at it being a third Breath of the Wild style of game. The way he was talking definitely sounds like it. Once again, if you want to hear the exact moment in the podcast, he has timestamps on his podcast that I'll link down below where you can just go straight to the Zelda segment. But to me, the way he was talking sounded an awful lot like he was trying to say this is going to be a follow-up to Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, which for a lot of people, this might make them upset. Now, once again, this isn't confirmed. This is just me speculating off of the format that he was talking in. Maybe he just means this is going to be an open air format again, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but a completely different art style, a different era of Zelda. That's what I'm hoping for. But just based on some information that I'm about to talk about here soon, and the way he was talking about, yeah, it kind of sounds like we're going to still be in that world. But he also says it's going to be the same engine, but with enhancements. Obviously, with bigger and stronger hardware now, the Switch 2 is going to be able to do some things that the previous two games with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom could not do on Switch 1, which is exciting. But yeah, I mean, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess use the exact same engine, so don't take this as, oh, this has to mean it's in the same world then. No, not necessarily. And obviously, with them using the same engine and maybe adding some tweaks, making it a little bit stronger, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it might even help development time be a lot faster, and the engine that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom uses is already really, really good. It has a great physics engine and everything. Like, there's no need for them to change really too much with that. Now, it is described as how we got Tears of the Kingdom. Lots of the ways that the source of this information actually described this as to Special Nick was tears in reality, or tears in reality. It's maybe a play on words, but yeah, he uses the phrase tears in reality a lot. And that is because apparently the puzzles in the main gimmick this time around will be cross-dimensional, which means that you'll be able to do things in one dimension and it will affect the dimension that you're in. Apparently, this is one of the examples given. A charging bull chases you in one dimension and it hits a target to activate something in your dimension. This will then unlock a door or do something to, access a new area in your dimension. This might sound very familiar. This sounds like the Dark World from Link to the Past, or Low Rule from Link Between Worlds. Now, this is actually something I was really praying for with Tears of the Kingdom. I thought, if they're going to reuse the same world, what better way to reuse the same world than to have a light and dark world variant, so that way we can see this awesome world of Breath of the Wild, but in the dark world as well, where things look different, and the people are different, and the creatures and enemies are different, and there's dungeons down there. Oh, that would be so cool. But of course, they actually did not go with that. Instead, they went with the depths, which ended up just being giant empty catacombs down below. So yeah, maybe this is finally what they want to do now, and they needed hardware that was stronger in order to do this from the beginning, which would then make sense, and I'd understand why they couldn't do it before. But yeah, this is awesome. Being able to see the Dark World in a mainline 3D Zelda game would be the first time ever. It'll be a complete first for the series, and I would love to see puzzles that actually, use those other dimensions. It seems like we'll be able to in order to do something in one dimension that will affect the dimension dimension that we are currently in, like maybe even have a bull run through dimensions from another one to hit a specific target that you cannot reach in your dimension. But another example that Special Nick gives is water makes things float to the surface. Example, there is a room with a chain and ball. You open up a dimension that has water on that side, and you pour in water from another dimension into your dimension in order to fill up the moat or the pool or whatever you need to fill up in order to get that chain and ball to rise, which will then open up a section or whatever you need to access where that ball was clogging. Think of a drain where you fill it up with water and the ball and chain rises, and you fill it up with water from a completely different dimension. Now, from this water example, one thing I think we all can really wish for and hope for is that we can actually swim underwater this time around. It's something that I desperately wanted to do in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but you could only swim on the surface. So hopefully they allow us to have the abilities to actually swim underwater again, which has been a thing in past Zelda games, especially things like Skyward Sword, which was like the last mainline Zelda game that allowed us to do this. That's why it's the best Zelda game. But yeah, like it seems like this is going to be heavily focused on Link having some type of interdimensional powers this time around. Now, Special Nick finishes off by stating that this game is going to be years away still, at least 3 to 4 years. Obviously, I don't think this shocked anybody. Breath of the Wild came out in 2017, and obviously we know it used the same engine with Tears of the Kingdom and a lot of the same assets as Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, it's a direct sequel, and that game didn't come out until 2023, 6 years later. But the problem is we don't know if this is going to be a direct follow-up to Tears of the Kingdom, and that's the first thing I'm going to kind of touch on. What do you guys think about this? Because I don't necessarily want this to happen. In fact, I'm actively against it. When I think of being able to open up rifts from our world and enter a different dimension, the first thing that comes in my mind is we're going to have the same world for a third time. I mean, because where else would they put us in the world of Breath of the Wild? I mean, there are far off lands that we can see outside of the border of the map. Are they actually going to allow us to go out there? Is the main Hyrule going to stay again? And then that gives them an excuse to have a Dark World version of our Hyrule. I feel like it's kind of too late to do that because it'll be the third time we have this world. I think we're all pretty much sick and tired of this world by now. I mean, people were already complaining about this with Tears of the Kingdom. Can you imagine the complaints with the next game? So if they do stay with the same art style, the same story, like the same characters, it's just a progression of the story, they have to have a new world. I think if there's a new world, people won't be as upset, but I think it's time for a completely new story, a new art style, new characters, new worlds, new enemies, a new villain, stuff like that. I think it's time, and I just don't know if that's going to happen. It almost feels like Nintendo is starting a brand new timeline or something with this whole Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom story being the beginning, because we still have questions about the timeline placement, because it seems like almost Nintendo has this Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom story branched off in a separate area with the timeline. So yeah, it's making me wonder, are they starting like this new thing where Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the basis for this next timeline or something? I don't know. I'm just speculating and throwing out ideas, but hopefully this is a completely new experience, a new style of game, and we don't revisit the same world again. As for the opening interdimensional rifts idea, I think this is genius. This feels like something Nintendo would do, and I can't even imagine what the puzzles could be. I mean, the ideas could be endless for what they could do if you could open up dimensional rifts and have like a mirror dimension in any location or any area that you're at on the map. And could you imagine how exciting that would be? Remember the excitement for the first time we landed on the Great Plateau, or we jumped off the Great Plateau and saw the giant world that we could explore and figure out what is going on. It was a big mystery. It was a giant exploration, which is something that I missed so much in Tears of the Kingdom. But Breath of the Wild allowed us to, explore this brand new world for the first time ever. Could you imagine if the next mainline 3D Zelda game allows us to not only explore a brand new world for the first time ever, but also a mirror dimension of that world, where there's like a darker, creepier, more corrupt version of Hyrule, giving us kind of a similar story to something that we've seen in Twilight Princess, A Link Between Worlds, or A Link to the Past, having a villain in that dark world that's trying to corrupt the light world of Hyrule. Man, that would be so cool, and being able to see what both versions of the world look like in any area of the game. I mean, people will be finding new secrets and exploring new areas for years and years to come. come, because there would be technically 2 huge maps layered on top of each other. They don't have to make them as big as they did with Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, maybe more smaller, more confined, so that way when you have both of these maps, it doesn't feel too overwhelming. But man, I just, could you imagine Nintendo put full effort in both of these maps? Like, I really hope if they do this, the Dark World version doesn't feel like the Depths, where it's just like, oh, this is the same exact world, it's just a little darker, or you can't see, or something like that. Like, I want it to feel like Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds, where it was a completely different world that had some similarities with the real one, but obviously lots of things were changed. The towns were completely different, the enemy types and people were completely different, you know, lots of the terrain changed and stuff, like where in one area there'll be a river in your world, but in the other dimension it will be a giant chasm. Something like that would be so awesome, man. I'm just thinking of all the possibilities and ideas, man. And once again, like Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds, there could be, you know, some dungeons in our dimension, but also some dungeons in the other dimension that we have to find and enter. But we do things in the alternate dimension in order to access those dungeons in the other dimension. I know I'm probably confusing a lot of people here, but if you get what I'm saying, you get what I'm saying. This is super exciting to me. I mean, if anything, I hope Nintendo does what they normally do with mainline Zelda games, where they give us some hints and some teases. I mean, there's literally not been a Zelda game, I don't think, where Nintendo has just not shown us things like years before it even came out. Like, remember Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom even? Both these games were shown off years before they were even ready. I know some people might not like this, but I find it pretty interesting to at least have some information about the next Zelda game and to speculate as we wait. So for maybe even Zelda's 40th anniversary this year, what if they gave us just a little glimpse, just a little tease at the next Zelda game to maybe confirm some of these plot points, or maybe just confirm, are we going to be in the same world or a different world? Would be pretty awesome. So hopefully we get something like that soon, but let me know in the comments down below what you think about this information. Do you think this is going to be true? Do you think we're going to have some type of cross-dimensional Zelda game? Do you want it to stay in the world of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? Does this mean it's just going to be open world like those games? Of course, because they sold so well. Why wouldn't Nintendo continue that tradition? But hopefully they add some things that other linear 3D Zelda game fans really want, like just the classic dungeons with the themed dungeons, and bring back items and stuff, and I feel like you can please both parties. But once again, let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and I hope you all have a blessed rest of your weekend. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.